The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
If you really want to doge, this is how you doge. You don't vote for bad legislation that expands government. Thank you.
Now we're talking about taxpayer money, and we talk about accountability. It is their money. This isn't a government program we're actually spending on. We're actually giving it back to the people of Idaho.
There's other options for making our ballots more secure, such as using watermarks or putting holograms on the ballots.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
I asked the question rhetorically, if we gave them another $1 billion, they wouldn't be happy. Well, we've given them $2 more billion, and it's not enough.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
Other states like Texas and Florida have enacted similar laws to address illegal immigration, both locally and in their communities. And Idaho has the right to protect itself when the federal government has failed to do that.
COVID presented us with quite the enigma. We didn't really know what it was or what to do, but that is no excuse to violate the rights of the citizens of the state of Idaho.
I say vote no on this and let the teachers teach and quit bringing in coaches to teach the teachers to teach, and let's get education going again in Idaho.
I don't know what's coming after this current administration for the feds, and we need this law because our federal laws on immigration have failed.
Mr. President, I think it's incumbent upon us to allow parents to use their hard-earned dollars to provide what's best for their children.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
My concern is that the resilience of Idahoans who believe in self-reliance and self-responsibility will be eroded.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Yeah, watch it.
Come on, guys.
I guess I'm tired of hearing that we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Last year, for example, what happened was, rather than setting a revenue number based upon the input by the governor, we passed a tax deduction, effective tax rate reduction. We passed additional programs that put strain on our budget, and then we backed into a revenue number that was somewhere between $500 million to $800 million more than we ever should have. So before we set a revenue number, we came in and we decided we're going to give a tax cut, and we're going to start some new programs, and then we wonder why we're at today. And I would suggest to you, as a business person that has always done budgets and always been able to write out things, part of the problem is when you back into a revenue number, rather than setting a revenue number based upon good information, you get yourselves into a problem that we're finding ourselves in today. Our reserves should be used. It's like when I have a month in my personal budget and I have a flat tire and my kid has to have his teeth fixed and you know, I had something wrong with my roof. There are times that you dip into your emergency savings funds to balance that out. And when we say that we've had this huge spending problem, when we go back and we take into effect the inflation rate and the population growth rate, in the last 25 years, that number is 0.4% per year. And during that same time, our personal income has gone up. And during that same time, we had voters go out to the polls and vote to put Medicaid in Idaho, Medicaid expansion in Idaho for very specific reasons. So I would suggest to you that Idaho has done the best job in the nation as far as being a DOGE state, and we're very efficient. Right now, we have to work through a little bit of hiccups, between some shifting sands of some things that have happened out there. But to send out this message that we have this massive overspending problem, I think is an injustice to what has actually gone on. Idaho has been very responsible and has done a very good job.
Would you like to comment?
Yeah.
Thank you, Representative
Mr. Chairman, Representative Mickelson. So if you can go back to last year, and that's where you're talking about the revenue numbers coming up higher, if you actually look, the governor had built in within his budget $200 million in a tax cut. So half it was already built there. We went in and you listened to everybody, all the presenters that had come in, and we looked at what our revenue actually was looking like, and we set revenue, and it was about $200 million above that. So it allowed for another about $200 million of additional spending. And the legislature ended up deciding that they wanted to do that as a tax credit. I mean, they could have taken it and funded all sorts of other programs, but they decided to give it back to the people, which I personally believe was the right thing to do. And from there, so that's your $400+ million in tax cuts that were actually done. When you come forward, our revenue right now, currently our revenue is actually outpacing it. We're still looking, we're $102 million up this current year within the revenue aspect. So if your revenue is actually up, even when you took the tax credits and did all those things up, then you have to see, do we actually have a spending problem? Now, I agree 100% with you that Idaho does a really good job of balancing its budget and to making sure that we had uncertainty. That's why we left that so much on the bottom line. But we have uncertainty within right now within the economy. Like I stated earlier, we have different months that we're going down where the revenue's not coming in and the next month revenue's not looking good. Those are usually economic signs. Now, when you're not leaving the money on the bottom line, you're not not willing to make the hard decisions on some cuts, and you're just going to use your reserve funds. How does that look when our credit rating companies come to Idaho and they say, well, you're not making hard decisions. Looks like you're just stealing from our reserves because you can't make hard decisions. Do you think our AAA credit rating will stand? And the answer is no, because I sit in that committee with the treasurer, and I hear from those agencies. So it is tough to sometimes make those decisions. And one of the things they look at is some of what our reserve funds are and how do we deal with issues that come up. When you come to talk to what's happened on sales tax, multiple things have come off of the sales tax at $330 million. That was directly tied to sales tax. That was an initiative that was pushed out that House Bill 1 from 4. Whatever, House Bill 1, that $330 million, that was directly sales tax. We also took another $80 million straight off the top of sales tax for the TECM. So when you do those and you actually add those back in, our revenue is really, really well, but the spending are the problems. And it's not so much the spending on every little tiny agency. The spending are ones that we have in these programs, and a lot of it is within Medicaid, that we do not have the levers to, like small levers. The federal government doesn't give us levers to kind of manipulate down to what works for Idaho. It's an all or nothing thing. And the only thing we have is the one big lever to pull or not pull. And those are the tough decisions that the rest of this body makes. Especially within the Health and Welfare Committee, that has to come back to the floor on some of those decisions. JFAC, we have this funding, we have to pay for that funding. And until some of those programs actually change, that's just what we're at.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It is January 29, 2026, despite what some of the titles of our broadcasts are out there. Apologies, we got the date wrong somewhere, but it is January 29. Welcome to the program. That was Representative Josh Tanner, who is continuing his tour of the House committees, explaining the process in JFAC, fielding questions about the budget, about cutting spending, encouraging them to cut spending. And you saw at the top there, that was Representative Stephanie Mickelson using the famous Democrat line that we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem, meaning we need to tax more. You heard that correctly, folks. That is Republican Representative Stephanie Mickelson from District 32 out in Bonneville in eastern Idaho, saying that we need to tax people more because we can't balance our budget without it. And Representative Tanner obviously taking the opposite side of that position, the sane side of that position, and he's been going around to these committees answering those questions. So we're going to get more into that later with Allman on here. There's a lot to dive into on that, especially as Tanner makes his way throughout the House committees. We do want to update you though on a story that we that broke yesterday regarding a gubernatorial appointment to the Human Rights Commission, the Idaho's Human Rights Commission. Estella Zamora. If you didn't see anything, or you want to give me a quick refresher, she was nominated by the governor to be reappointed to the Human Rights Commission for the next couple of years. And a quick perusal of her social media pages showed her to be somewhat of an activist. But we want to show you, here's one of her posts there. But we want to show you an exchange that happened yesterday during her presentation. She was before the Senate State Affairs Committee to meet the committee and have the committee ask her questions. And if you want to know, when you hear the term Human Rights Commission, I don't know. You may be thinking about, well, what was that dealing with? Obviously, I would think it would have to be dealing with when the government tramples upon your civil rights. But of course, the human rights is a more of a globalist term because it's not really tied to any document like the Constitution. That being said, all that aside, let's watch this exchange with Senator Brandon Shippey and Miss Zamora.
Give us an example of what that would look like in a specific and whether or not you guys how you would determine if it was a violation versus it was, just a misunderstanding, miscommunication, so forth.
Ms. Zamora.
Senator Shippey, Senator Guthrie, and members of the committee. Say someone was operating a big equipment out on a construction site. They got hurt through no fault of their own. Maybe something was faulty with the equipment, or anything could have happened. And the person that got injured went to the supervisor and reported the incident or accident. And then they would do an investigation, and if that investigation found whether the person was actually injured accidentally or not, if the employer denied it, then the employee might file a complaint with the commission, and the commission would do an investigation and write a report. The report would come to the commission for us to decide after the investigation whether there was probable cause or not that an injury did result as a result of because of the actions of the employer.
Okay, so if you were able to follow along there, and I've seen that clip a couple times now, it sounds like she's dealing with workman's comp here. This isn't a human rights issue, unless of course the person who's injured thinks that they were injured on purpose because they were of a different race, color, creed, whatever protected status there is. So I now have questions about what the Human Rights Commission is all about, because if we're dealing with like people getting hurt on the job site, this raises a whole other question, and so now I'm wondering if we even need this commission at all, because these commissions, they do get stipends, they do if you go to this particular commission, there's all sorts of people working there or doing things there. So what are they doing is bizarre. But let's get back to the main story here is Estella herself. So we helped break the news yesterday. It was all over the internet that she was posting all of these different materials online, talking about ICE out of Idaho standing in solidarity with Minnesota. She's calling this guy who was shot when he interfered with police activity an American hero. I mean, you see the videos that came out last night about this guy. This guy's is a wild, antagonistic lunatic thug. I mean, there's video out here like smashing cars, law enforcement cars and stuff. So this guy was no American hero, yet here's Estella calling him that, and all sorts of different posts on her page. So rightly so, this has blown up. People have been sharing the video that we had yesterday that we put out. That we clipped, the segment from yesterday, and all sorts of you and everybody's been contacting the State Affairs Committee, as well as the governor, trying to figure out why he would even nominate somebody like this or reappoint somebody like this. What's the vetting process? We have a call out to the person in charge of appointments at the governor's office, waiting to hear back on what is the process for appointing these people. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. We do have sources that are telling us that her name has been pulled and there will be no vote on her on Friday. That has yet to be officially said and confirmed. So until that's confirmed, I still encourage you to call the Senate State Affairs Committee and ask them to vote no on her appointment if you agree with us in terms of being concerned here. I don't know if we still have that number for the Senate State Affairs Committee, but yeah, there it is, 208-332-1326, or send an email, sstaf@senate.idaho.gov, and just let them know that you either want confirmation. Did her name get pulled? Is this story true, or are you still planning on voting on her on Friday? And because we need confirmation on this, because we need to make sure that she is in no position of power within any part of our government. Very, very atrocious. I mean, we should be appointing. Oh, that's the other thing. We should be appointing conservative folks who believe in the rule of law, who stand by the values and the things that go on in this state and the things that we voted for. And we voted for ICE to do their job, to remove criminal illegal aliens, to remove all illegal aliens. They're all criminals because they came into this country through illegal means. That's the whole point of being illegal. I don't saying criminal and illegal is like why it's redundant. They're illegal aliens and they should be gone. So let's let them enforce that. Let's get some good people on these boards. There's word that if he reaches out to us, we'll talk more about somebody. I don't want to get ahead of the skis here, over the skis, as they say. Anyway, so good job out there, folks, putting the pressure on. That's exactly what we need to see. So that's what we're all about here. All right, let's move on. A lot to get to today. We had a clip we wanted to show you yesterday. Speaking of our rights. Representative Kyle Harris was before a committee with a very simple bill here that should be of interest to a lot of folks here in Idaho. Let's check it out.
I think this is your first time in front of House State Affairs, right?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Dang, we messed up because we like to have walk-up music for individuals, and I messed up on that. It should have.
In my brain, it's Eye of Tiger, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right, Eye of the Tiger. All right. Keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kyle Harris. I am a representative from District 7, which is Nez Perce, Idaho, and Adams County. Today before you is RS 32875. This is a very simple lift, as we all we all swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, and this brings back your constitutional rights while on a boat. It's very simple. When we enacted the boater safety laws that we have in this state, this was overlooked, and so now basically sheriff's departments, whoever is patrolling the water, has the authority to board your vessel without suspicion, without reasonable cause, and so they can just board for any reason. That to me is unacceptable. We have a Fourth Amendment right in this country, and I'm just trying to bring it back to boats.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Harris. Are there questions for Representative Harris? Seeing none, Representative Scott.
I move to introduce RS 32875.
Committee, we have a motion to introduce RS 32875. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. It will be done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
It will be done. That is now called House Bill 548, a very simple bill. I'm going to read it for you. All it did was add one simple line there. You can see it underlined. The sheriffs and deputy sheriffs of the respective counties shall be primarily responsible for the enforcement of this chapter, and in the exercise of their authority may, and here's the new part, may, upon reasonable suspicion that a violation has occurred, stop and board any vessel subject to law. So that is that wasn't there before. Before it was just they just may stop and board any vessel subject to law, and so by adding that, we have now brought this action to constitutional standards. This is the type of thing that it's like, why is it? How was this even overlooked, or why was this even written? Why do sheriffs look at this if they look at the law and say, oh, we can go on any boat at any time for any reason? Great, and then but they don't bring it to the attention of legislators. It's bizarre. And who knows? Maybe somebody did. Maybe a sheriff did reach out to Kyle Harris. We'll have him on the program and talk more about this. But these are the type of bills that are protecting our rights. This is what we want to see. This is what we want to see when we elect people who represent us, right? There are two types of people. Those who think that they are elected and are there to represent the governor and the agencies, and those who make it to office who understand that they are there to represent you and me and our community, and that they are there to keep the government in check. It's right there at the top of the show. Tony Wisniewski, the first rule of government is to uphold our rights. That's it. And so this is a perfect example, and it's a simple bill. It's one line among four that is now there. So it may seem pretty like basic and simple and stuff, but this just highlights how simple we can make our lives. We just do the simple thing. Okay. Now we have to deal with something else. Speaker Mike Moyle was in the where was this? This was probably transportation, the transportation or local government. I don't know where it was, which committee it was, but he was in a committee yesterday, and he brought to our attention something that I think is going to concern a lot of us here. It was very very interesting. Let's roll this. I'll let him have the reveal.
Mr. Speaker, it's all yours.
Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Moyle, District 10. The joint memorial you have before you deals with a little issue that's kind of come up in the news lately. We have a situation where the state south of us, Utah, the speaker there is proposing to lower their fuel taxes in Utah by half. And to accomplish that, what he's proposing to do, as I understand it, is to raise a tax on the fuel at the refinery. So it's taxed in Utah at the refinery before it comes to Idaho. This is a big deal to Idaho. There's three lines. There's one line that goes south to Vegas. There's two lines that come to Idaho. Those lines have spurs that hit Pocatello, Burley, and then Boise. And from Boise, one more spur goes north to Umatilla. The problem is, in my humble opinion, it's unconstitutional, first off, what he's trying to do because of the interstate commerce clause. But my biggest concern is his proposal would raise the fuel prices for every gallon from Utah to Idaho at about 25 cents. I think it was 24.9 the last one I saw. And I haven't, the bill, as I understand, hasn't been introduced, so that could change. That would have a devastating effect on Idaho and our communities here. So what this joint memorial does is just ask Utah, it has a few things in about, hey, don't do this, don't do that, and then ask Utah basically not to do that. If they do that, the leverage we have is limited. We'll find ways to go back and forth, but it would be very harmful to the state of Idaho. I think I'm not sure, but I think they're shipping somewhere around 75,000 barrels a day up this way, something like that. So it would have a big impact. With that, this joint memorial just asks Utah not to do it, sends a message from us that we don't like what they're doing. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Stay up for questions.
Is there any questions for Representative? Oh, I don't know if you had a question. Go ahead. Do you have a question? Or
For a motion, actually.
motion's in order?
Mr. Chair, I move to introduce RS 33097C1 and request it be sent to the floor with the second reading calendar.
Thank you. Representative Shepherd, do you have a question?
Yes, sir, Chairman, question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, you've been here a lot longer than I have. Would this be considered asking nicely, or is this a very stern, you will do sort of thing?
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman, the only swear words that paid the swear jar were when I was in my office, so they're not in here.
I think that was nicely.
Yeah, and we were trying to find a path forward where we weren't, go too far. And I would have gone farther on some of it. We're trying to be nice. We'll see what happens. This is a big deal. The impact to Idaho's economy and the citizens in the state, it's a big deal. And we're kind of at a disadvantage because we don't have a refinery in Idaho and we don't produce crude in Idaho, and we're stuck. We don't have that advantage. So it's not that bad, but it's all right.
Representative Boyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, do you think this is going to do any good? Do you think he cares?
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman and good lady, probably not. But the best part about it is now the people in Idaho know it's out there and they know we care, and Utah knows that we're looking at them. And I assure you that we've had a lot of meetings this last week finding ways to make, I don't like to say get even, but trying to find ways that we can maybe get some of that back for the citizens of Idaho. Because if they do what they're talking about, it's a huge increase. We already have issues with a captive audience now. That's why you see the disparity in fuel prices between parts of the state, and this would just make it worse.
Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just wanted for a comment.
Go ahead.
As some of you may know, the tank farm is in my district. It's up on Curtis Road. All those, I think there's 25 gigantic tanks that hold fuel, and it comes through it comes from Utah through a line that goes down Philippine Street and out up the airport and east. And this is not fair or right for them to be taxing that fuel, especially when they have a monopoly anyway on the gas products that they provide to the Treasure Valley.
Are there any other questions? Representative Shepherd, do you have another question?
One more question for the speaker. You said huge. Could you put a dollar amount on that for the general public?
Well,
Mr. Speaker, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman and good gentlemen, one of the numbers that was thrown out was 250 million a year, something like that. It could be more. It's just hard to say because we are a captive audience. The interesting thing about that pipeline too is there's two that come to our neck of the woods and only one goes north, and not very much fuel goes north. It mostly gets all consumed before it gets there. So it's a big deal.
Representative Shepherd.
Just one more clarified. So what does that mean to the average citizen? Is that like 25 cents a gallon more for gas or 15? What are you saying with that?
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman and good gentlemen, it's hard to say, right? Because the profit margins, I don't know the profit margins at all the gas stations. I don't know what profit they make, and I don't know what room they have to absorb part of this, or if they send it all on at 25 cents or whatever that number becomes. We just don't know. The market will try to adjust. There'll be other markets that will try to compete, right? Because in Idaho now we bring in a lot of fuel on the rail from Canada and also I think North Dakota. And so you've got, I think, 3 rail stations in the state. I think one's in Jerome, one's in Nampa, I think one's in Idaho Falls. But anyway, so you've got those others that could maybe try to pick that up, right? Bring in more fuel to try to offset that. So it's hard to say what the cost is and without having it happen and to see how the markets adjust. Because the markets will all adjust. It's capitalism. People are going to want to make money, but they're also going to want to try to be the lowest, but still make profit. So you'll see all those games get played. So we just don't know. I don't think the rail can bring in nearly what that pipeline does. I don't think it's going to replace it, but I think it could help offset it.
Is there any other?
All right. Well, that joint memorial was printed. It is now House Joint Memorial number 12. You can find it on the legislative site. This is fascinating because, you take kind of like these like tariff games that could possibly go on. But I like what Charlie Shepard asked. The question, like, is what we're doing here something that is like a strongly worded letter, that actually has teeth to it, or is this just sort of a nice way of asking? And the way I read it, it is kind of like, we do know what you're doing, and we've seen these types of things fail before. There's a section in here that says, whereas in 2022, the state of Washington considered a comparable export tax on fuel sold out of state, but the proposal failed to advance due to the same numerous concerns regarding interstate relations. So while Utah may be toying with the idea, they most likely will fail because of the precedent set by Washington. But yeah, folks, we gotta pay attention to this kind of thing. It's glad to see that we are watching this, because that would be, we are a state that's kind of locked off from. We have no refineries here. We don't drill for oil here. We don't do that sort of thing. I mean, if we were allowed to exploit some more of our resources in the state, do more logging and timber and do more mining for rare earths, we easily could have a much better be in a much better scenario here. But all right, so we just thought we'd wanted to make sure you knew that was happening as well. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? We're going to take a break because it's almost the top of the hour. We got Brian Allman coming in here in just a moment. What I want to kind of go, before we go to the actual break, is in Boise right now, I think last year was their first year of doing this, but there's something called the Syringa Speaker Series. And it's a big event, a once-a-year event, to raise money for some nonprofits, not their nonprofit, but they'll choose an organization, a charity organization in generally probably the Boise area, the Treasure Valley area, where they have a big gala, big event, and they invite some premier speakers to come and have a nice evening of discussion, of intellectual conversations, and really have a nice big, in the big blue city of Boise, which is a big blue city now, to have this nice little ruby red event where conservatives can get together and have a nice time. Take a look at their pitch for this year. This is the Syringa Speaker Series. Check it out.
Hey, Idaho, I'm Dan McKnight, a member of the board of the Syringa Speaker Series, and I'm going to say something out loud that way too many people are afraid to say. Our kids are under attack, not just in obvious ways, but online, in schools, in culture, and even inside of institutions that are supposed to protect them. We are watching children get pulled into things that they don't understand, pressured into things they can't consent to, and exposed to content no child should ever see. And here's the truth. Protecting children, it should not be controversial. It shouldn't be right-wing or left-wing. It should be human being. And that's why on Saturday, February 28th, the Syringa Speaker Series is bringing 3 powerhouse voices to Boise for our annual gala. First is Liz Wheeler, one of the most influential conservative commentators in the country. She is fearless and she is sharp. Her show on Blaze TV and her book, Hide Your Children, Exposing the Marxists Behind the Attack on America's Kids, is a must-read for all parents. Second, Chloe Cole. Chloe's story is one of the most important in America right now. She medically transitioned as a minor, and she later detransitioned. Now she travels the country warning parents and lawmakers about what happens when adults push kids into permanent decisions they're not ready to make. She's not speaking in theories. She's telling the truth about what it costs and why we have to protect kids before it's too late. And third is Joe Concha, our master of ceremonies. Joe is a Fox News contributor, a best-selling author, and one of the funniest and quickest voices in political commentary. He's going to keep the night moving and engaging, and he will bring some much-needed clarity and levity to a very serious topic. The gala is called Protecting the Next Generation, and it's happening at the Boise Center on February 28th. Tickets, sponsorships, and VIP opportunities are on sale now, and you can also sponsor a student table and help bring the next generation of conservative leaders into the room. Protecting the Next Generation. Get your tickets now at syringaspeakerseries.org and join the coalition of parents, patriots, and everyday Idahoans who are drawing the line and protecting the next generation.
And that's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
Idaho is the dirt under your fingernails after an honest day's work. Idaho is the hug around your neck when your daughter spells her first word. Idaho is the written word of the law, steadfast and impartial, guarding liberty for all. Idaho is the family rifle passed down, a legacy of protection and the right to stand firm. Idaho is the echo of your own voice, unshaken and free, standing tall among the world's silenced. Idaho is the home that's built to weather storms, not empty wallets. Idaho is the quiet trust between a patient and healer, unbroken and sacred. Idaho is the hymn carried by the Spirit, gathering neighbors together in faith and purpose. Idaho is the laughter around a campfire, a family's bond growing stronger with every word. Idaho is the pioneer's will, firm and clear. We govern ourselves, free and unbound. Idaho is what America was. Let's keep it that way. Ask your legislator to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge to preserve our shared values. We ride together.
To the white water runs on the Payetz-a-Roo. Golden potatoes, farmers stand strong. Cattle and dairy, they're feeding us all. From Boise nights with the bright city glow to Coeur d'Alene's calm waters below. Spuddy buddy waves with a smile so wide, sharing our story with American pride. So raise that flag, let freedom fly, echo liberty from plains to mountains high. America's heart beats red, white, and blue. 250 years of me and you, yeah, lift it up loud. Idaho proud, American true. We've walked with Lewis and Clark on the trail, raised out families with stories to tell. Generations working hard hand in hand, building on a dream, saying yes we can. So raise that flag, let freedom fly, echo liberty from plains to mountains high. America's heart beats red, white, and blue. 250 years of me and you, yeah, lift it up loud. Idaho proud, American true. Church bells ring through the valley air. Rodeo lights, what a life we share. Esto perpetua, forever we'll sing. God, land, and family. Let freedom ring. So raise that flag, let freedom fly, echo liberty from plains to mountains high. America's heart beats red, white, and blue. 250 years of me and you, yeah, lift it up loud. Idaho proud, American true. Idaho proud, red, white, blue. Red, white, blue.
All right, check it out. That's the committees playing on your screen as we listen to that version of Forever Idaho. Those are the committees. Head over to the legislative site. Look at the calendar. Look to see where your favorite bill, favorite topic you're watching, and make sure you sign up to testify or keep tabs on it as well. All right, folks. So guess who's back? Guess who's back? We saw her at the beginning, the first week when we were on the air. Lily Allman is back with a brand new video that we definitely want to share with you, and then we'll bring in Brian Allman afterwards. But the other almond, we got two almonds. Remember, we got two almonds. It's like, and it's not almonds. Okay, whatever. Anyway, let's watch Lily. Check it out.
Woo! I'm out here protesting in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's a deep red state, and this is a very red area. So obviously they have the wrong perspective on ICE. Quite frankly, ICE needs to cut it out and stop deporting the criminals. We want the criminals to stay. We like the random murders. We like the gang violence. We like the drugs. So take a hint, get lost. We're doing okay without you. I'm coming out here with my sign. We're gonna see if we can drum up some more support. On this side it says honk if you love illegal aliens, which I think is self-explanatory. On this side it says go home, Tom Homan, keep borders open. And I ran out of space here, but I think it'll be okay. Honk if you love illegal aliens. These are very reasonable people. I'm sure some of them will honk. These people have an American flag on their car. That's a little racist. Oh my gosh, there's a rival protester down the way. I see the Statue of Liberty. This is awkward. I wonder what he's protesting. Probably the same thing. For some reason, this doesn't seem to be a popular cause. There we go. Maybe if I seem more friendly. Should really be practicing my chants. Take my advice. Don't cooperate with ICE. ICE hates kids. ICE hates kids. Woo! Got two supporters. What? This is my job. It pays well. There are a lot of wild accusations being thrown around about the idea that people like me are paid protesters. Would a paid protester be out here on a Wednesday afternoon in the middle of a work day? I don't think so. I need more songs and chants. I'm running out. I only had the two. Keep borders open, am I right? This is a big issue in Idaho. We do have a sponsor for today's protest, our good friend George Soros. I kind of gave a little disclaimer down here that you can't really read. I am actually a trained protester, so don't try this unless you've been taught what to do if you encounter law enforcement. I was told to just hop in the car and drive straight towards them. I heard that works well. The cops don't actually have any real authority, so I'm just gonna ignore everything that they say if they say anything to me. All I'm trying to do is keep the illegals voting in our elections. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's difficult living in a red state, fighting for a blue cause. You gotta have grit. Ain't easy. Woo! There we go. Keep those borders open. So our anti-ICE protest went really well. Huge show of support. You should have heard all the cars that were honking. There were several. It's encouraging to see. Not everyone's crazy. Some people still have a good head on their shoulders, and they understand that illegal aliens have every right to be here too. They have every right to be roaming our streets, murdering our citizens, and interfering in our elections, and burdening our resources. So Idaho's waking up, and I'm glad I could be a part of it. And yes, this was satire.
Yes, let's bring Brian Allman in here. Brian, that was fantastic stuff, right?
Wait, that was satire?
You know, it's so funny that she has to put that disclaimer on there because she did a video last year with about the flag, you know, the pride flag. And so I think, you know, and people thought she was an actual leftist and they were going after her. So I like her little disclaimer there. But that is so fantastic because here's why she's so brilliant. She's saying out loud what these folks actually are out there protesting. I mean, they're trying to say we are here for criminal activity.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that different from what we've seen from Estela Zamora's social media feed, for example. It's, you know, the rhetoric's about the same.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Thank you, Lily, for that. That is fantastic, folks. That'll be up on the social media channels. You can share it and watch it over and over and over and over and over again. So that's great. All right. Allman, we got to talk about Stephanie Mickelson this morning. If we can remind folks what she said, can we just play just the top of her first statement there about revenue and spending? You guys still have that in the queue?
I guess I'm tired of hearing that we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. last year, for example, what happened was rather
good.
than setting a revenue.
Yeah, that was it, right, Brian? She's tired of hearing that we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. We've heard Democrats say that over and over again, haven't we?
Sure. If you just show me the transcript of Representative Mickelson's statements this morning and said, who do you think said that? I would have guessed Senator Ward Ingleking or Senator Wintrow in JFAC, because that's been their line for the past 3 weeks. That was their line before the session started. The Democrats came out and said, we don't have a spending problem where we can't cut anything. We've already cut to the bone. We're already reducing services to vulnerable people. We need more revenues. We need to repeal tax cuts. We need to repeal school choice. Now, I didn't actually hear Representative Mickelson say we need to raise taxes, but she's basically saying we need to dip into emergency funds because we cannot cut anything. Sometimes, to her example, if you get a flat tire or you have an emergency medical decision that you got to pay for, sometimes it's best to cut spending in other areas. Maybe you don't go out to eat as much. Maybe you hold off on, buying a new car or remodeling the bathroom. That's the hard choices, like Representative Tanner said, that you have to sometimes make. And when you're in government, especially when you're using other people's money, this isn't money that you've worked for. The legislature doesn't go out there and hold bake sales to raise money for the state government. They extract it from the people who are making money in Idaho, businesses and individuals. So they should be extra careful about how they use that money. And to think that there's nothing more that we can cut is pretty ridiculous. They always go off on, bridges and schools and roads and police and law enforcement. But if you actually dig into the budget, there are a lot of things that I think people can say are not the best use of government money, of the public money, of taxpayer money. There are things that we can trim. There are things that we can cut. And we don't have to immediately go to the essentials, because there's a lot of non-essentials, I think, that the government is funding.
Exactly. The Democrats and Mickelson, and I repeat myself, they always go for these essentials. Yet they vote against getting rid of something like the Hispanic Affairs Commission, which spends $500,000. It's not the largest amount in the budget, but all of that stuff can add up if you just start getting rid of it.
Yeah, there's the small things. The Hispanic Affairs Commission, what was that thing? The Yellow Dot program was like $15,000, not much. You add those up and you get a little chunk of change, but then you have the big elephants in the room, Medicaid expansion. And I know that was approved by the voters, but that was approved, I say, under false pretenses. The sponsors of that initiative in 2018 said this will not only save money, this will only ever cost about $400,000. Now it's $1.6 billion, both federal and state money. And it just keeps growing, because once you have a program like that in place, the incentives are all there to expand it further and further and further and further. And remember, that's for working age, able-bodied adults. That's not for people with disabilities, not for the elderly, not for pregnant mothers, not for children. Those are all covered under regular Medicaid. And in fact, those people are having their budgets cut in the governor's budget because he wants to protect Medicaid expansion.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly where Joe Alfieri, Representative Joe Alfieri, in that same committee this morning, again, this was Josh Tanner going around to all the committees. He had that question on Medicaid for Josh Tanner. Let's watch that clip.
Tanner, this is great. Thanks for all this information. I want to ask about Medicaid. Medicaid is 40+% of the budget. 42 is the last number I saw. I don't know if that's accurate. So two-part question. How much of that is Medicaid expansion? And then with Medicaid expansion, do we have to buy everything, or can we pick and choose areas that we can eliminate and cut or trim down?
Representative Tanner.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Representative Alfieri. So within Medicaid alone is the single largest budget in the state. It overtook education a few years back. But within Medicaid expansion, we don't have little levers. Now we have waivers. We've sent waivers in, multiple different waivers into the federal government, and they have to give us that waiver, and they don't. They tend to just every year we send waivers into them, whether it's work requirements or there's been a few other ones that we actually have sent into them that they just don't even respond to. So within that, we don't have a lot of control. Now, when you talk about the populational aspect of it and the cost aspect of it, that's where you really start seeing the driver. And that one definitely is a very high-tick driver in an increase that you would expect in a low economy that we're currently at, that is low unemployment. We would see a decline in that because I think I've used this before in other committees. If you're a single person, you're on Medicaid expansion, you can go to McDonald's and get $15 an hour, only work 30 hours a week and not qualified for Medicaid expansion. And so there are a ton of those jobs out there that can actually do that. When you start adding multiple people within a family, the numbers change a little bit, and if you have dependents, the numbers change even more. But that's where we're at, and it's right now it's at $1.3 billion. When that initiative was originally run, it was only at $400 million, and that was all we were going to see this program ever get to be. That was where it was at. They thought it would manage within there, maybe fluctuate a little bit, and now we're at a $1.3 billion in just very few years later, and nothing but a continual uptick within it. When you look at it, the state of Idaho, and one of every 4 people are on some type of assistant within Medicaid, that becomes a scary thing, and that's why we're seeing such a large cost increase. I think one of the big things is we're seeing a lot of people go to just emergency rooms. And it's hard because there are federal laws that dictate what the hospital can do and can't do when somebody comes to emergency room. And I mean, for them, why not? A doctor's appointment, I have to wait 3 days to get in, or you go to the emergency room and get right in. For us, we probably would choose to wait the 3 days because we don't want to pay that bill. But when somebody else is paying that bill, it makes it an easier decision.
Yeah, so there you have it, Brian. Kind of going through the explanations there. I mean, that's the big elephant in the room, or the big target in the room that no one wants to seem to touch. I mean, where's the argument to Mickelson and the Democrats and saying we want to help these other people on Medicaid? We also want to help make sure the bridges are being built. Cut expansion. Put these people back to work. Guess what? You cut expansion and we need to go build a bridge. There's probably going to be a lot of people ready to go to work.
Yeah, that's true. I remember during the Doge task force, I think it was co-chair Senator Lakey read out a letter he had been sent from a business owner who said that he was having trouble getting employees who were wanting to work full time because they wanted to stay under the threshold so that they could qualify for Medicaid expansion. So the government welfare programs always change incentives, and the incentives for Medicaid expansion are particularly bad because they make people want to stay down there in those that part-time low income area because. And the problem is because if you go full-time or go, your income raises just a little bit more, then suddenly you're on this cliff where you don't qualify for these things, but the money you actually make doesn't make up for what you were getting before. And that's a problem. So we need to remove that perverse incentive and get people back to work, get people, self-sufficient again.
Yes, we must. We must, folks. We must. Okay. All right. Well, obviously we're keeping tabs on all of that. And as we move forward, one of the other things that we're keeping tabs on, of course, is the flag bill. Again, addressing the pride flag that's been flying outside of the Boise City Hall for over a year now. They passed a bill last year. We've gone over this. It didn't have any mechanisms for penalty in it, but that didn't matter much anyway because the mayor went around and found a loophole that said we are just going to make the pride flag an official flag and keep it flying. So we're back this go around. Ted Hill tried to introduce a bill before. There was a lot of finagling and pushback on it, so he was back again this morning with a new version. Let's check it out.
Start off as RS 33107C1. I want to start off with the fundamentals of this bill, that why we're here. The bill was passed last year, the flag bill, and the objective was to make it so government entities did not display political, religious, and ideological flags on the same dais as the American flag. It's a distraction. It is divisive, and I want to focus on the American flag. That was the objective. And we pledge allegiance every day to that flag. It is our symbol of unity and strength. Well, what happened is the local mayor said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the law as I see fit. As I said, I'll say it again. She gave the middle finger to the legislature, flat out. Refused. There was no way to enforce it, so there has to be a response to that. And that's what this bill is about. Specifically, insubordinate government officials, whatever a lot of that is, it sets a tone of anarchy. It sets a tone that's intolerable, and there'll have to be follow-up because this could go across the state where people can get away with these type of things. So we locked down after the last, we clarified a couple of issues on what flags were going to be allowed. We made some allowances. I'll repeat those again. The American flag, state flags, official military flags, including the POW MIA flag, recognized tribal flags, and there's 4 of those in this state. Official flag of the Idaho University or College. Here's the big change, was allow flags of city or county flags established before January 1st, 2023. And this is when this started to happen, is after that flags started becoming, city flags became basically ideological, political, and religious in their own sense. And we wanted to be able to cease that. And this is consistent because they say, as you're picking on the pride flag. No, I'm not. I mean, it could be any flag. This could be escalate. If I was mayor, I'd put, some flag. If I wanted to put a MAGA flag up or a Christian flag or any of these things, none of these are okay. And the dies with the American flag. So it's consistent across the board, and it's important that we do that. And that's why I wanted to have it that way. Any flags allowed for temporary parades or assemblies. And I did drop the Bass flag because that was a carve out that wasn't appropriate. The penalties is the key. Now, if an official decides to ignore this, $2,000 a day per flag per day. And if they cease to, that can also escalate where the Attorney General can do an injunction to district court and have them removed. So there is an enforcement clause in this flag. And this is a good response. Again, this is all because unnecessary.
Okay, let's bring Brian back up here too. Brian, so there it is, man. So there it is. No city flag that's adopted after 2023, which would include the pride flag. And then also, was that $2,000 a day per flag?
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard. That's an interesting way of going about it. Remember, in the first flag bill debate a few days ago, Representative Hill suggested just getting rid of all city and county flags entirely, which maybe it was a bit of overkill. So this is an interesting way of going about it because it was, he's right. It was only in the past couple of years that, some of these mayors have decided that they're going to find this loophole. They're going to fly pride flags or, in other states, they've got, BLM flags. I think, in places in Michigan, they've got Muslim flags. So you have these folks who get power in a city and then use that to promote their own, beliefs and their own ideologies. And as you've said multiple times, flags represent conquest. You plant your flag and say, this is now my land. So they're planting the pride flag saying that Boise is now, conquered by, the LGBTQ plus movement, which, yeah, sure, that might be welcoming for that percentage of people and for the people who, believe in that. But then that's not very welcoming for those who disagree. It's saying if you disagree with this ideology, which, by the way, we're pushing in schools, we're pushing on the media, we're pushing everywhere, we're, wanting to convince your children that they're transgender. If you disagree with that, then you're not welcome.
100%. There was a back and forth that Representative Hill had with a Democrat on that committee, Hawes. We have 2 clips of there. Let's do the one out, not the Basque flag, the other one. Watch this.
The thing that concerns me about this, and I appreciate and understand your intention to heal division in our country, in our state, and I really do appreciate that. I think we need to do what we can to come back together. What concerns me about this piece of legislation is that you've explained that for you this is really about the American flag, and if we could make the American flag the only flag that we see on our flagpoles, that would be great. But what I see in this proposal is a bunch of carve-outs for particular, flags, and then removal. For instance, why I asked about the Basque flag is, where are we drawing the line here? And are we drawing it in a way that really hurts our communities, where we don't get to speak for the communities that we live in? And I would posit that we have a system for that, which is called local elections. And so I I don't know that this is the state's place, and that's my comment.
Thank you. You can respond if you want to, or
I will respond to that.
Okay.
And this why we're here today is because the mayor says, no, I'm not going to follow the law. That's why. This wouldn't even be a topic. She just said, no, I don't care what the legislature does. What's her next step? Outlaw guns in Boise? What, she thinks she can do whatever she wants? That's the issue here. This became that issue.
Mr. Chairman.
And that's number one.
That is a great point, Brian. That is a great point, because once you allow this little bit of a leeway, then it extends, and we've seen this throughout the country in other cities. In fact, I think I saw a headline this morning that said DeSantis, if cities do certain things, DeSantis is just going to have the mayor removed from office, which is also a part of this bill that says if you continue to do this, that the AG may have the power and may enact removal from office.
It sounds reasonable to me. And over the past few decades in our country, the left, the Democrats, the progressives, socialists, whatever you want to call them, have used this tactic where they push and push and push. They push their ideology into the public sphere. They push it into cities and counties. They push it into schools. They push it into entertainment. They push it into sports. And then when our side, when conservatives, Christians, Republicans, whatever you want to call us, step up and say, hey, no, we don't like this, then they say, you're politicizing this. We're just being heckin' good human beings, and you're making this all about politics, when really they're the ones pushing their politics into everything. And then when we stand up and say, no more, we're drawing a line, then they try and say, we're the ones politicizing it. We're the ones making this divisive. No, it was the mayor of Boise who decided to start flying the pride flag year-round to make a political statement. And the legislature, which, remember, cities are not sovereign entities. They're not like the relationship of the states to the nation. They are creations of the state. And, to put it bluntly, the states brought those cities into the world, and the states can take them out. The states have authority over these cities and counties as divisions of our state, as subdivisions of our government. So the legislature is perfectly within its rights to say that, no, you're not going to use your city flagpole to push your ideology on the entire people of your city. And if they push back against that, if Mayor McLean or the Boise City Council says, no, we're going to defy that, then it's within the legislature's right to start pushing some sanctions and have some consequences for that.
Absolutely. And this is going to be one way we can get this through. The bill did get through, or it got this version of the bill did get printed. So it'll come back for a full hearing, and I'm sure for some more fireworks.
That's going to be a crazy hearing.
Yeah, it will be. Okay. And maybe the mayor will show up, huh? That'd be interesting. And an invite to the mayor to show up. Excuse me. All right, Brian, let everybody know where we can find you.
GemStateChronicle.com, at Brian Ullman on X and everywhere else. Still working on some articles, got some stuff going on today. But go check out my reporting yesterday on that appointment to the Human Rights Commission and why it's important that that be opposed.
Yeah, very good. All right, Brian, we'll see you again tomorrow for the Friday show. Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to follow us at all our social media channels. Go over to idahosignal.live. Leave us a voicemail at 208-402-4915, and we'll play it on the air. And there it is, idahosignal.live, if you want to save on your data and just tune in and listen with your ears only. And check out americansmokecode.com for some smoked salts. And we'll let Forever Idaho take us out. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bill, I think it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.